Thanksgiving Eve, November 24th, 1971. Portland International Airport was busy with holiday travelers. Families were heading home, flights were full, and no one expected history to be made that afternoon. Among the passengers was a man who didn't draw attention to himself. He appeared calm, confident, and ordinary. He was in his mid-40s, well-dressed in a dark business suit, white shirt, and a thin black tie. He wore sunglasses, even indoors. He paid cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle on Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. The name on the ticket read, Dan Cooper. There were only 36 passengers on board the Boeing 727. The flight was short, barely 30 minutes. Cooper took seat 18E near the rear of the cabin, in the smoking section. Shortly after takeoff, he ordered a bourbon and soda, lit a cigarette, and sat quietly, observing everything around him. A few minutes into the flight, Cooper calmly handed a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. She assumed it was a phone number or a flirtatious message. She slipped it into her pocket and continued working. Cooper leaned closer and spoke softly. "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Florence opened the paper. The message was written neatly, in clear block letters. It stated that Cooper had a bomb inside his briefcase and would use it if necessary. He instructed her to sit beside him, trying to stay calm. She did as he asked. Cooper then opened his briefcase, just enough for her to see inside. She saw what appeared to be red sticks, connected with wires and a battery. Whether it was real or not, it looked convincing. Cooper spoke slowly and clearly. He had demands. He wanted $200,000 in cash, delivered in $20 bills. He wanted 4 parachutes. Not 1, not 2, but 4. And he wanted the plane prepared to fly again after landing. If his demands were not met, he said he would detonate the bomb. Florence immediately informed the captain. William Scott, the cockpit crew, contacted air traffic control, and within minutes, the FBI was notified. Instead of flying directly to Seattle, Flight 305 began circling the airspace. On board, the hijacker remained calm the entire time. He drank his bourbon, smoked cigarettes, and even made casual conversation with the crew. He spoke confidently about aircraft speed, altitude, and fuel capacity. This was not a panicked criminal. This was someone who had planned every detail. As the plane continued circling, no one on board realized they were witnessing the beginning of the greatest unsolved skyjacking in American history. Inside the aircraft, Cooper remained composed. He never raised his voice. He never threatened the crew directly. He spoke politely. As Flight 305 circled above Seattle, the situation on the ground intensified. FBI agents, local police, and airline officials rushed to respond. This was not just another hijacking. The man on board was calm, precise, and unusually prepared. Inside the aircraft, Cooper remained composed. He never raised his voice. He never threatened the crew directly. He spoke politely, almost professionally. Another flight attendant, Tina Mucklow, was assigned to stay with him. He treated her with respect and even tried to put her at ease. "I don't want to hurt anyone," Cooper told her. "This is just business." On the ground, authorities scrambled to collect the ransom. 10,000 $20 bills were gathered from multiple banks. Each bill was carefully photographed, and every serial number was recorded by the FBI. If this money ever surfaced again, they wanted to know. Meanwhile, Cooper made very specific requests. He demanded 4 parachutes, 2 main chutes, and 2 reserve chutes. This immediately raised suspicion. Investigators believed he wanted to make authorities think he might take a hostage with him. That way, they wouldn't sabotage the equipment. As evening approached, rain began falling over Seattle. At 5:45 p.m., Flight 305 finally landed at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Floodlights lit up the runway, and the plane sat alone on the tarmac. A vehicle approached, the aircraft carrying the ransom money and parachutes. Cooper inspected everything carefully. He counted the bundles of cash, checked the parachutes, and found nothing suspicious. Satisfied, he allowed all 36 passengers to leave the plane. One by one, they walked down the stairs, unaware that they had just been part of history. Not a single passenger was harmed. Now, only the flight crew remained on board. Cooper then gave his next set of instructions. The plane would take off again, this time heading south, toward Mexico City. It must fly at a low altitude, under 10,000 feet. The speed had to stay slow. The landing gear must remain down, and most importantly, the rear air stairs of the Boeing 727 were to stay lowered during flight. These were not random instructions. Cooper knew exactly what he was doing. At 7:40 p.m., the aircraft took off once more, disappearing into the dark, rainy sky. The passengers were safe. The money was on board, and the most dangerous part of the plan was about to begin. The Boeing 727 climbed into the night sky, heading south toward Reno for a refueling stop before continuing to Mexico City. Outside, the weather was turning worse. Rain lashed against the aircraft, and strong winds shook the plane as it flew over the rugged wilderness of the Pacific Northwest. Inside the cabin, the mood was tense and silent. Cooper sat alone near the back, the ransom money close by. The crew followed his instructions carefully. The plane remained under 10,000 feet, flying slowly with the landing gear down. The cabin was unpressurized, and the rear air stairs were armed. Cooper asked Tina Muklo to join the cockpit. He wanted to be alone. That was the last time anyone saw him. Sometime between 8 o'clock and 8:13 p.m., the flight engineer noticed something strange. A warning light on the control panel illuminated. The aft air stairs were lowering. Moments later, the aircraft shifted slightly. The pressure changed. There was a noticeable movement, as if something heavy had just left the plane. Cooper was gone. No one saw him jump. There was no scream, no signal. Just darkness outside and silence inside the aircraft. Investigators later reconstructed what likely happened. Cooper had taken one of the parachutes and tied the bag of money to himself using parachute cords. He opened the rear air stairs while the plane was flying, something the Boeing 727 uniquely allowed. Then, in total darkness, he stepped off the aircraft. He jumped from nearly 10,000 feet into freezing rain, with powerful winds below. He was wearing a business suit, loafers, and a thin tie. No helmet, no protective gear. Below him were dense forests, rivers, and mountains. Many experts believed no one could survive such a jump. Others believed only someone highly experienced would even attempt it. The plane continued toward Reno. At 10:15 p.m., it landed safely. FBI agents rushed on board and searched the aircraft. They found Cooper's seat empty. One parachute was missing. The money was gone. D.B. Cooper had vanished into the night. Whether he died in the wilderness or escaped into legend, no one knew. As soon as Flight 35 landed in Reno, the mystery officially began. FBI agents boarded the aircraft within minutes. Every seat, every aisle, and every surface was examined. But the hijacker was gone. There was no sign of struggle, no trace of panic, just an empty seat and unanswered questions. The FBI launched a massive investigation, codenamed Noriak, short for Northwest Hijacking. It quickly became one of the largest manhunts in American history. Agents believed Cooper had jumped somewhere over the wilderness of southwestern Washington. Search teams were deployed immediately. Helicopters flew low over forests and rivers. Ground teams searched miles of rugged terrain, battling cold rain, thick trees, and rough land. But nothing was found. No body, no parachute, no clothing. Inside the plane, investigators gathered what little evidence they could. Cooper had left behind several cigarette butts from Raleigh brand cigarettes. Decades later, these would be tested for DNA, but the results would be partial and inconclusive. He also left behind his black clip-on tie. At the time, it seemed unimportant. Years later, advanced testing revealed tiny particles embedded in the fabric, titanium, aluminum, and rare metals commonly used in aerospace manufacturing during the 1960s. This suggested Cooper may have worked in aviation or a related industry. Witness descriptions were carefully recorded. Cooper was described as a white male, around 40 to 50 years old, approximately 6 feet tall, with a calm voice and confident posture. He appeared intelligent, organized, and emotionally controlled. The FBI tracked every serial number from the ransom money. Banks across the country were alerted. Any appearance of those $20 bills would raise an alarm. Months passed, then years. Still, no confirmed trace of D.B. Cooper. Many investigators began to believe he had died during the jump. Lost in the wilderness, his body never recovered. But without proof, the case remained open. And then, nearly 9 years later, something unexpected happened. For years, the D.B. Cooper case remained frozen in mystery. Leads came in, but none led to solid answers. Then, in 1980, nearly 9 years after the hijacking, something incredible happened. An 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram was on a family camping trip along the Columbia River, near Vancouver, Washington. While playing on the sandy riverbank, he began digging into the ground. What he uncovered shocked everyone. Bundles of $20 bills. The money was badly damaged, decayed, waterlogged, and partially buried. When authorities examined the bills, their serial numbers matched the ransom money from Flight 305. In total, $5,800 was recovered. This discovery changed everything. If Cooper had died in the jump, how did the money end up there? If he survived, why was the money buried and never retrieved? The FBI analyzed the river currents and terrain. Some experts believed the money could have washed downstream from the original jump zone. Others argued the bills appeared intentionally buried, suggesting human involvement. But no more ransom money ever surfaced. As the years passed, suspects came and went. The FBI investigated over 800 individuals. Many were pilots, paratroopers, military veterans, or men who lived near the suspected jump area. One suspect, Richard McCoy, carried out a similar hijacking months later. He also parachuted from a plane with ransom money. But eyewitnesses quickly ruled him out. He didn't match Cooper's appearance or behavior. Another suspect, Dwayne Weber, allegedly confessed to his wife on his deathbed, claiming he was Dan Cooper. But DNA evidence failed to support the claim. More names followed, more theories, but no proof. Despite decades of effort, the case refused to close. D.B. Cooper had not only vanished, he had become a legend. And the closer investigators looked, the stranger the mystery became. Over the decades, the FBI chased hundreds of possible identities for D.B. Cooper. Each suspect seemed promising at first. Each one eventually led to a dead end. One of the most famous suspects was Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. Just months after the Cooper hijacking, McCoy hijacked a plane in a nearly identical way. He demanded ransom money and parachuted out of the aircraft. Many believed the mystery was solved, but flight attendants from Flight 35 disagreed. They were certain McCoy was not the man they had seen. His face, voice, and behavior did not match. The FBI officially eliminated him. As Cooper's another widely discussed suspect was Dwayne Weber, on his deathbed. Weber reportedly told his wife that he was D.B. Cooper. He also had a medical condition that matched a detail in Cooper's physical description. But when DNA testing became possible, it failed to link Weber to the evidence from the plane. Then, there was Robert Rackstraw, a former military pilot with parachuting experience. His background seemed to fit perfectly. He had knowledge of aircraft and explosives, and he often spoke in riddles that some believed were coded confessions. Yet once again, no hard evidence tied him to the crime. Other suspects included smoke jumpers, airline employees, engineers, and even intelligence operatives. Each theory sparked excitement. Each collapsed under scrutiny. One crucial piece of evidence remained unexplained. The black clip-on tie advanced testing revealed microscopic particles associated with aerospace manufacturing. This suggested Cooper may have worked in or around aircraft production in the 1960s. But even this clue wasn't enough. By 2016, after more than 40 years of investigation, the FBI made a historic decision. They officially closed the active case. Resources were needed elsewhere. No new leads justified continued pursuit. Still, the mystery refused to die, because even without answers, the question remained: did D.B. Cooper survive? For more than 50 years, one question has divided investigators, experts, and true crime fans around the world. Did D.B. Cooper survive the jump, or did he die that night? The first theory, and the one the FBI initially favored, is that Cooper did not survive. The conditions were brutal. He jumped at night, in heavy rain, with freezing temperatures and strong winds. He wore a business suit and loafers, not proper skydiving gear. Below him was rugged wilderness, filled with trees, rivers, and steep terrain. Many experts argue that even an experienced skydiver would struggle to survive under those conditions. If Cooper died, his body may have been swept into a river or hidden by dense forest, never to be found. But there is another theory, one that refuses to go away. What if Cooper planned everything perfectly? Supporters of the survival theory believe Cooper had military or parachuting experience. He knew the Boeing 727 in detail. He selected parachutes carefully. He demanded for to prevent sabotage. He chose a low altitude to avoid oxygen problems. And then there's the money. If Cooper died immediately, how did part of the ransom end up neatly buried on the Columbia River bank years later? Some believe he survived the jump, lost part of the money, and escaped. Others believe he hid the money intentionally and never returned. Some theorists suggest Cooper lived a quiet life afterward, spending the cash slowly or not at all. Perhaps he feared being caught. Perhaps the money was never as important as the escape itself. More extreme theories suggest government involvement or intelligence connections. During the Cold War, others believe Cooper was simply a brilliant criminal who outsmarted the system. The truth is, every theory has flaws, and none have proof. D.B. Cooper remains the only person in history to hijack a commercial airplane, escape with ransom money, and completely disappear. No identity confirmed, no ending revealed. Just one final mystery. Today, more than half a century later, the name D.B. Cooper still refuses to fade away. What began as a hijacking became a legend, one that changed aviation forever. After Cooper's escape, airport security in the United States was transformed. Metal detectors became standard. Passenger screening became mandatory. The era of easy skyjackings ended almost overnight. In that way, Cooper didn't just vanish. He left a permanent mark on history. Movies, books, documentaries, and songs have all been inspired by his story. Every year, researchers and amateur investigators still search forests, rivers, and archives, hoping to uncover the truth. New theories appear. Old ones are re-examined. But the mystery remains intact. In 2016, the FBI officially closed the active investigation. Not because the case was solved, but because there were no new leads strong enough to follow. Still, the files continue to be released slowly, page by page, keeping the mystery alive. Some believe Cooper died the moment he jumped, lost to the darkness and wilderness below. Others believe he survived, walked away from the crime, and lived the rest of his life in silence. Perhaps he lived an ordinary life, carrying an extraordinary secret. Or perhaps the truth is something no one has imagined yet. What makes this case unforgettable is not just the crime, it's the uncertainty. There is no ending, no confirmed identity, no final answer, only a question that still echoes through history. Who was D.B. Cooper, and what really happened on that stormy night in 1971? If this story intrigued you, share your theory in the comments. Did he survive, or did he vanish forever? Subscribe for more real mysteries, and until next time, stay curious, stay questioning.